Hi, I'm Patrick Clayton. You guys probably know me on Twitter and other message boards better as Leaf Erickson. This is my first go at a video blog or vlog, and I'm here to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs and what happened this year, as Steve Dangle questioned on his last post. As far as what happened, you can probably mash it up to a bunch of different things, but I think the biggest points are probably, well, goaltending hasn't been consistent this year. It's been up and down at best. Didn't help that our number one goalie went out early in the season with a concussion. I don't think he completely recovered from that, and obviously with him being out now, there might have been still some lingering effects to that. Who knows? Gustafsson, as good as he was over some stretches, he did not play consistently to a high level. I've referred to him as a flake before, and I don't mean that necessarily as a bad thing. A lot of goalies are flaky, but the man can make a myriad of really amazing saves in a game, and then two or three stinkers get past him, and that's unfortunate for him. Physically, he's probably one of the more talented players in the league in his position at goal, but he's not consistent enough to be the number one goaltender of a starting team, at least not yet. I think that the team is also lacking some veterans and leadership, and that goes back to the youth of the team as well. When you look at the oldest players on the team, guys like Komisarek, who doesn't play on a regular basis yet seems to be able to retain his A coming in and out of the lineup. Colby Armstrong as well. To say Steve Dangle has touched on this a couple of times, it seems odd that you'd have players coming in and out of the lineup as healthy scratches, but also be able to retain the letter on their jersey, which doesn't seem to make a whole heck of a lot of sense. And the last point I'll go with is coaching, or a lack of a system. There wasn't really anything in place with Wilson over the last few years, and to say that it's unfair to expect that you bring in a guy like Carlisle this late in the season and expect him to be able to affect change so quickly and have it turn into winning, it's really not fair. You can't expect him to come in with a little over 4 weeks left in the season and to have this team going the right way, especially when things went so far south so quickly. As far as what's next, we got the draft coming up this summer, and free agency. At the draft, I expect Burke is going to go after a center. The big three centers at this year's draft are Mikhail Grigorenko, Alex Galchenyuk, and Radek Faksa, who seems to be climbing up a lot of people's lists. I think if he doesn't get one of those three at the position he's in or unable to move up, that he's likely to trade down and maybe take a shot at a guy like Brendan Gaunce, who's probably likely to go anywhere in between 10 and 15. Free agency this summer, I expect the one thing he's going to look at most will be goaltending. So a guy like Josh Harding should be at the top of his list. He might consider Thomas Vokoun, although he didn't have that great of a season with Washington. And Taro Niedermaki's been kicking around for a while. Ray Emery's actually been pretty good for the Chicago Blackhawks this year. I would say that there's maybe a better than good chance that he just stays in Chicago, but as of right now, he's scheduled to be a free agent. Curtis Sanford, who plays for Columbus, despite how bad that team is, he actually doesn't have very bad numbers. He's been a career minor leaguer, but he can perform at this level, and maybe with somebody in his experience would come in and platoon with a guy like Reimer, he could actually be a decent pickup. Leadership. We need some strong leadership in this group, preferably with some size. A guy like Jarrett Stoll out of LA, who's scheduled to become a free agent. The Leafs have tried to acquire him before. Paul Gostad, who's played in Buffalo, everybody knows should know him over the last 7-8 years. Travis Moan, who has a history with Brian Burke and Randy Carlisle, and local boy Brendan Prust might be of interest as well. He's currently playing for the Rangers. And of course, they should look into upgrading the defense if they can. The big fish out there this summer, it would be a guy like Suter, who's currently with Nashville. He's probably going to cost a big penny. I don't know if Burke is interested in that kind of defenseman. If not, then maybe you look at somebody who's slightly older, but is one hell of a leader, guy who currently plays for St. Louis and probably won't reach free agency either, but you never know, you can always hope. Richard Jackman, he's a defensive rock for the Blues and would be one heck of an influence for a guy like Luke Shen, young guys on the team who are still coming along and could really use that kind of leadership. I guess the biggest point, and the biggest point of contention at least I have with a lot of fans that I talk to on message boards and Twitter, is I still believe there needs to be patience with this group. You look at the Marlies' success, what's happening there. I think that's just the start of what we're going to see with the Marlies over the next few years. There's some really good product coming through. Guys like Jesse Blacker, D'Amigo, Corbinian Holzer have made huge strides with that team. Even Colburn and Kadri are still big parts of our future. And if you look at teams like the St. Louis Blues, the LA Kings, who've been at this for a long time, or even Nashville, who's been essentially building since they got into the league, they're to a point now where they have a very deep team, a very deep system, and it didn't happen overnight. And even with Burke, it's unfortunate that we had a year that looked so promising, like we were going to make the playoffs, and everything fell apart so quickly. But that happens. But that doesn't mean you abandon the ship and tear everything apart like they do in Montreal every 2 years, where they're constantly breaking it down, plugging a couple holes, and then trying to sneak back into the 8th spot. It doesn't really work that way. And so hopefully, and I believe in Burke and his team, that they will do the right thing, they will continue to build, and eventually this team will be a very deep, very productive team that can go far in the playoffs and hopefully bring a cup. Anyway, this will be my first vlog, and I don't know, maybe I'll do another one down the road, but hopefully you guys enjoyed listening, and we'll talk to you again soon on Twitter anyway. Feel free to leave a comment or comment on Twitter. Thank you.